In this video, we're going to answer the question, which one should you do? Should you start a Shopify store or should you start an Etsy store? We're going to go over the pros and cons of both, and the answer might surprise you. That'll come at the end. So let's start off with some of the pros of Shopify. So one of the big pros of Shopify is that it's built for e-commerce and you own everything. So what do I mean by this? Well, one, the entire Shopify platform is built to sell things and it's built for you to own it. As opposed to Etsy, where you don't really own the things. It's Etsy's brand, or not Etsy's brand I should say, but Etsy is the platform and you're just kind of almost renting space there. As opposed to Shopify, you own the property. So the other big benefit is they're your customers. When someone buys from you on Etsy, they're not really your customer, they're Etsy's customers. When they buy from your Shopify or other type of e-commerce store, they're yours. You get to keep them. On top of that, it integrates with Pinterest, product listing ads, and a ton of other things. So basically, if you're serious about selling with an online, you should definitely consider having a Shopify store. You can do things like easily place buyable pins on Pinterest, meaning that people on Pinterest will be able to buy your products. With Etsy, you can't really do that. But there are some big pros with Etsy here. And one of the big ones is you get tons of traffic. Now, if you were to start a Shopify store, no one's gonna know about it. You're gonna have to go out there, you're gonna have to do the marketing. With Etsy, people already know about Etsy. They're already on Etsy and they're gonna be searching for your product potentially already on the Etsy platform. On top of that, it's somewhat free. Now, I do say somewhat free because there are fees. It's not like Etsy's just doing this as a big favor to you. There's obviously gonna be fees that you're gonna have to pay. On top of that, it's much easier to get started with Etsy. Shopify, it's going to take a little bit of work. I'm not going to lie to you. With Shopify, you're going to have to create a product page and then all the other pages around it and a bunch of other things like that. Now, it's not impossible, and I have videos showing you step by step on how to do it. It's really not as hard as you probably think it is, but with Etsy, it's definitely easier, let's be honest. Now let's go over some of the cons. So one of the big first cons is you're going to need third-party apps with Shopify, and that's going to cost a little bit more money. On top of it, there's fees for using third-party payment gateways. Now, this isn't a huge con. You don't really need to do that. You can actually just use Shopify's payment gateway and you'll get better rates. On top of that, it's a little bit pricey. It's going to cost you a monthly fee. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than using Etsy, at least at first. In the long run, it's actually going to save you money, and we'll talk about that in the cons for Etsy. So one of the big cons with Etsy is they kind of own your soul. If for whatever reason they want to kick you off Etsy, they can, and you're done. Now, you can't get kicked off of Shopify. I mean, I'm sure it's possible if you did something really crazy, but I've never heard of someone getting kicked off Shopify. On top of that, there's a lot of rules. There's a lot of rules with Etsy, and you want to make sure you don't break the rules, otherwise they will kick you off, and there goes your income stream. So that's a big negative. On top of that, there's fees. So if you're selling something for $100 on Shopify, you're going to get almost all $100 of that. You might lose a little bit because of credit card processing fees. On Etsy, you're only going to make about $80 from that. And now, these numbers aren't exact, but you see where I'm going. They're going to charge you fees. They want to cut. So that's a big negative there as well. Not your customers, like I said. With Etsy, you don't own the customers, which is a pretty big negative. And on top of that, it's not quite as professional. If I meet someone and they say they have their own site versus they sell everything on Etsy, I tend to, and this isn't always the case, I know a few people that are doing extremely well on Etsy, but 9 times out of 10, I assume if they're just selling on Etsy, they're not like really serious about selling online. So what's the answer here? Do both. I mean, I talked about the pros and cons here. You should start an Etsy store and start your own Shopify store, period. Start with Etsy first if you want to test the market, and then you can focus more on your own Shopify store to grow sales. Because Etsy, there's going to be a cap to how much you can sell on Etsy. Now with your own Shopify store, you can raise that cap way, way higher. And you really own the traffic when it's on your own Shopify store. So just as a side note, if you do want to start a Shopify store, which I highly recommend, you can get a free 14-day trial by clicking up here or down below in the show notes. And when you use that free trial, I get a little small, if you end up going with Shopify, I get a little small kickback, which means I'm going to give you a free 30-minute one-on-one consultation. So if you click on this link or that link down below, try the 14-day free trial. And if you do like Shopify, I'll give you a free one-on-one consultation. So that's a pretty good offer here. So you can try it out. If you don't like it, stop, don't use it. But my answer would be start an Etsy and start a Shopify store so you can have a physical presence and still seem very professional. If you like this video, make sure you click that subscribe button down below. And if you haven't already, get the Online Store Success Pack. I have checklists in there on how to start your online store. So if you are serious about starting an online store, you got to get that. And there's also access to a Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group that only people that are members here and that watch these videos get to be a part of. So if you want access to that, click up here. And last but not least, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. And I'm here to answer your questions, guys. So if you have any e-commerce questions, please let me know. And I'll see you in the next video. And thank you so much for watching this.